Hey everyone, welcome back to Get Candid Podcast. I'm your host, Raven Joseph, educator, mentor, certified writing to heal instructor, and life coach. Today I want to share with you my testimony on how I transformed my life, how I've become at peace and filled with joy. It didn't happen overnight, so I'm just going to share my story. For those of you who haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. On Sunday, I shared my vlog of me going to church service, and the sermon that my Pastor Kristen, had shared really was my life. Like the whole transformation, it just hit home, and I just decided that I wanted to share my story with you all and share like the steps that I went to and how I'm able to maintain this joy, this peace of mind. I always talk about being a life coach, how I want my clients to be able to sustain a healthy lifestyle. It's not only about being happy in the moment, it's about finding joy on that journey. And so I'm going to tell you how it all started. So yeah, sit back and listen. All right. Years ago, I was, really, really like depressed after the passing of my mom, and she was my rock. And I could always count on her for everything. And although at a very early age, not early because I was an adult, but like when I shared with my mom my plans, it was like she was my filter. Even though she didn't tell me no, she allowed me to make my own decisions at the end of the day. It was just her having to be there to listen and like just discuss and brainstorm things. The next steps of my life was really helpful for me. So when she passed away, I did feel really lost, and I've shared this before. And then it set me on this journey of finding my peace. I remember one time I was working at my first school teaching, and one of my colleagues, mind you, she is a complete stranger at this point. Although we worked together professionally, we've never had a personal conversation. And one time she stopped me in the hallway and she was just like, she basically could see through the facade of me being sad. Like she could see that, I come to work on time, I'm doing my job, I love the kids. But at the same time, she could see that there was no happiness there. And we had this whole conversation, like, about where I had been, and like she was just telling me like it's really important for me to keep going and to really focus on finding my way and what brings me peace. That started my journey, I would say, in 2014, and I've also shared that for years I've gone on a spiritual retreat at least twice a year. And although I was doing that, although I was on this path to finding peace, within me, finding that joy that was missing, that lack that just kept nagging at me, I tried different things. I tried going on spiritual retreats. That would sustain me for a little bit. It really opened me up to what meditation was, and it helped me in some ways. But because I wasn't consistent with it, it wasn't effective. It didn't last. And also, so I would always go back. And also, I tried like just tackling my goals. Like in that time, I got a second master's degree. I was part of these dope organizations, women empowerment, doing more after school work, doing more community work, my nonprofit, mentoring my girls. And it was like this temporary satisfaction for me. And I was always chasing something else to make me feel satisfied, make me feel basically worthy. I didn't know what the word was or what I was lacking, but I didn't feel worthy that whole time. So I was looking for things outside of myself to make me happy. And I knew this about myself. And although like I focused on self-care for so long, dating myself, getting my mani and pedi, making sure my hair was done, spending time with friends and family, it still wasn't fulfilling for me. Like it was still something missing. Like, as you can see, I focus on self-care as a life coach, and I always post about it because I am big on it. I think it is a way for us to keep going and like to take care of ourselves. It's part of our journey. It's part of the process of our taking care of our overall well-being, but it just wasn't sustaining. Like overall, I was still lacking something in all these different things that I was trying to do. And it wasn't until my last relationship, after the breakup, like everything was hitting me, but I knew the breakup wasn't the issue. already knew that going into that relationship, I was lacking something. And clearly, the relationship didn't fulfill what I was lacking. And I knew this even in the beginning of the relationship. I was still doing different things, still trying to be in community, trying all these things, and it wasn't working. And one day, I kid you not, I say to myself, yo, I'm not going to give up. Like, there's no way God put me on this earth to feel this miserable. There's no way that we are born to be miserable. And I was like, nah, this is the last time I'm going to go through the cycle of like being depressed, feeling defeated. Like, I'm going to figure this out. So I already had habits of prayer, using my prayer journal, going to church and things like that. But I really started to pay attention more to what was happening around me. And I decided, like, I'm not going to play the victim anymore. I'm going to figure this out. Like, if anybody else can do this, it has to be me. And I felt like it was my responsibility to figure things out, because like, I cannot go into having children and like being like this. Like, how am I going to be a model to my children if I don't even know how to deal with what I'm dealing with? Even with my clients, how can I be a good coach if I don't even know how to deal with what I'm dealing with? And so teacher, educator comes in like, sister, how can I be there for other people and I still don't even understand how to be there for myself? So that day that little thing came to me, like, this life is not supposed to be lived with misery, I decided that I really needed to trust God. Like, I really, like, not even, I mean, I was born and raised in the church. I was at church Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was always in church, always praying, but I was still trying to do everything by myself. And I think that was the one shift that I had to do first and foremost, was trust God. Like, really trust that God has my back, and that whatever happens to me, I'm going to be safe, I'm protected. And from that conversation I had with myself, it took time to get to where I am today, but it was the beginning. It was just like, damn, like, how do you go to church every Sunday and you journal and you meditate and do all these things, but you're not really trusting God? You're not giving it to God. And I remember a friend of mine took me to church for, I'm getting chills because I just forgot about this until right now that this happened. But I remember there was a guest speaker there, and like, I guess he prophesized over me, and he told me certain things that would happen, and they did come true. And also he told me to give it to God. And this was, I want to say, going into 2020. Yes, it was going into 2020. And like, it wasn't clicking. It really wasn't clicking. I'm like, what is he talking about? Give it to God. Give what? Like, it still didn't click. It didn't click so a while longer, but wow, like, giving it to God has saved my life. And I feel like we hear things over and over and over again, but it doesn't click until it's ready to hit us. It's our time, if that makes sense. So for instance, like, when I speak with families and they're feeling discouraged and they're feeling defeated because they can't reach their children, I always tell them to keep going, keep talking to them, never give up. And I say this because in my own life and seeing my brothers, like seeing all the things that my family has gone through, like firsthand, my mom used to always read the Bible to us. Like, we would pray together. A family who prays together stays together. Like, it was instilled in me from such a young age. And I didn't really get how powerful it was until more recently. And so I always tell my parents, make sure you're still talking. Don't feel like, oh, you're throwing your hands up. Don't ever give up. Because although it seems like they're not listening, they're listening. And eventually when they need that information, they're going to be able to utilize it, and they're going to thank you for it later. So you may feel like right now you're not doing enough as a parent, but trust, and eventually they will. Same with my brother. I love my brother. His story inspires me too. I'm so proud of him, but he wasn't always a good goody two shoes growing up, I would say. But now he's an amazing father, an amazing husband, and an even better brother. So I feel like that's part of my story, was like, I'm hearing all these things, but it really wasn't registering with me. And I just pretty much made the decision to stop going through life like God doesn't exist, like God isn't real. And when I started to tell myself that, I started to think about all the things that God has promised for my life. And like, I feel so safe. I want to say, it's just like a complete change. Like, and still in all, even today, sometimes like I forget. And so that's why I make sure that I maintain that relationship with God. And so some things that I have also done was I decided to stop reading the self-help books, because honestly, the self-help books were helping me to accomplish my goals in the world, but it wasn't helping me to accomplish the goal of what was happening inside of me. So instead, I started to read spiritual titles, and I can share some spiritual titles that really helped me to understand God and improve my relationship with Him. That was what I was doing. Like, I kind of went ghost for a couple of months, and I just started reading every morning. I would read and I would process, and I have my spiritual book title journal, because not only was I was going in, like studying these books and what they were saying and trying to make sense of it all. And like, it was really an eye opener for me to see like who God really is, and like not what the idea, I guess, that I had of God wasn't what He was. I think that fear that was instilled with me as a child, and like that I was going to hell for like having sex and stuff like that, and I always felt guilty about things like that. That is not who God is. God is forgiving. He's compassionate. He's all of these things. And I think just learning more about Him each day has helped me to be a better Raven. I started to read more of the scripture. I do have the Bible app, and I think I'm on like day 100 and something. And I'm going to be totally honest. Like, I do read it in the morning. I listen to the video in the morning when I wake up, but sometimes I go right back to sleep. And so I would say there are a few scriptures that I know. And I did get this. Do I have it over here? I'll show it. But it's a mapping journal that helps you to like really go deeper into the scripture. The Bible app is too quick for me to do like day by day of the scriptures. Like, it's one thing like when I'm fasting and I'll read a scripture a day, but like it just goes too fast for the pace. So I got the mapping journal, focus on one scripture a week rather than like every day. And like, when you do that, you're really getting to apply it. That's something with me. When I was reading the books, I took my time. It was kind of like I was giving myself this independent course, because I didn't want to rush through it and miss anything. I really wanted to process what I was learning so that I could figure out how to apply it to my life. And I do the same thing with the Bible. I'm no longer trying to just get the streaks. Yes, I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I still do it, but I do try to focus more on learning the word and how to apply it to my life. Because when I'm in those moments of feeling discouraged, I either recite an affirmation to myself, or I recite scripture to myself to remind myself of who I am and how far I've come and what God has in store for me. Another thing that has helped me a lot is self-reflection. This writing to heal process that I've learned has really helped me as well, like to really dig deep into figuring out like where this pain was coming from, so that I was able to heal. I did that consistently. And even so today, when something comes up for me and I'm just like, what is this? Like, where does it come from? I used to attack the crap out of myself. Like, I used to like put myself down for feeling emotions that I felt like I shouldn't be feeling. Like, oh, you should be ashamed of feeling this emotion. No, like, I learned to show myself compassion, and I've learned to work with my therapist, as well as writing down my feelings and trying to process it. I'm going to share the Writing to Heal process with you, the video, an old episode that I did, so you can just listen in on what that process is and how it can really help you to heal. Because like I said before, we want to make sure that we are in a good space to enjoy life, like not just going through the motions, but really feeling joy and feeling peace. And I would say the number one thing that has helped me to be consistent is making sure that I'm plugging myself into places that support my spiritual journey, including going to church. And for the most part, I don't really go to church every Sunday. I'm going to be honest. I'm also not a person that goes to church on just Easter Sunday either. I'm somewhere in between, but I definitely want to get back into going to service weekly. I think it helps with sustaining my feeling for my relationship with God. And I'm part of groups. So there's connect groups where there are other people who want to learn about God, who want to strengthen their relationship with God. We can meet up once a week and do things, talk about God, scripture. That really helps as well. And also, I watch a lot of sermons online. I watch like a different sermon, at least like I'll watch mine, but then I'll also watch somebody else's. Like, it's just a reminder. Like, I feel like I want to fill my mind more with godlike things than I do with worldly things, because those worldly things will have me trapped personally. One thing I can say that I've seen, like even my presence on social media has changed over the years, like especially in 2020 when everything was happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. Like that took a toll on me. It took a toll on me to the point where I had to step back and like really set a boundary of how much I'm taking on social media, because I'm a very sensitive person and it was too much for me. So I constantly take breaks, and that's why I'm not really consistent when it comes to posting on IG, because it's just like I'm posting there, I don't really interact. And that's kind of why I came onto YouTube too, because it's easier for me to stay sane, if that makes sense, because I do get angry about what I see in the world, and my anger is just not going to change anything. So I'm going to do my best just to make sure that I still reach my clients, my audience, and still maintain this healthy awareness within myself. So I practice gratitude every day. I also use my prayer journal, whatever I need. Like when I'm feeling lack, if it's worship music, there's so many things that I do just to surround myself with the love of God. And so I just do my best every day. Not everything I do, I could say like I am consistent with spending time with God daily, but it looks different on any given day depending on, what time I wake up or what I feel I need. Sometimes I might need a longer time with God. Like instead of me meditating, and this is something Pastor Kristen talked about too, that I actually do, is when I read scripture, I actually meditate on the scripture. So initially when I did Raja Yoga years ago and I learned about meditation, it was more so we were trying to clear our minds, which was crazy for me, because I don't know if you notice in my other episodes, when I speak, I'm often already at the next thought. Like I don't even complete a thought because I'm already like racing down, because my mind goes so fast. And I try to like speak slower so that people understand like I'll listen back, and I did it just now. So I'll speak slower so people can understand what the hell I'm talking about, because when I edit the podcast, I'm like, girl, you didn't even finish that thought or that thought or that thought. But yeah, I'm working on that. So I am aware of that. I do a lot of self-awareness, reflecting, like I said, with the journaling and things like that. And that's something that I want to work on. But yeah, so I really am happy that I went to service on Sunday. I'm glad y'all came along with me. And I'm glad to share my testimony. So to put it short, what Pastor Kristen shared with us, with the church on Sunday, there's this book that I just bought on Sunday. Pastor Kristen recommended it that we read it over the next month or so as a church. So I think that's pretty cool. I thank Pastor Kristen for even having this sermon, because it was just a reminder of how far I've come. But one of the things she said, I don't know if she got it from the book or not, but she says, the direction of your life follows your greatest thought. So whatever you think most about is what your life is going to turn out to be. That is so true. That is so true. So that's why it's so important to change your thoughts and to fill your thoughts with good things and to be positive. And yes, it's difficult to be positive all the time, but don't let yourself sit in a space of negativity. And some of the things she shared, 3 steps she shared, I'm going to share with you right now. I wrote them down. She says, when you're spiraling and you want to get your mind back, call the feelings out. So we're no longer playing victim. Whatever is you're over obsessing with in your mind, that's the part you need to heal. And for me, it's writing in my journal or talking to my therapist, and really going through processing what it is. So it's not ignoring it or telling myself not to feel it anymore. It's feeling it and processing it. And number 2, she says, fill your mind with truth. And when she's talking about filling your mind with truth, she's talking about scripture, which is something that I'm doing. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track, because if Pastor Kristen is saying it, then okay. So yeah, fill your mind with scripture, fill your mind with affirmations, just to remind yourself of how far you've come and what you've accomplished already in life, and this to know that you're already worthy. I'm definitely going to write the scriptures down that she shared. I'm not going to share them in detail here, but I'll put it in the description for you to track it and check out the scriptures yourself. And number 3, she says, repeat it until you defeat it. So it's not going to happen overnight. Those feelings will come back, but you have to trust in God. Know that God is here for you. And just let it go. Let go. I can count on my hands the amount of times that I've felt anxiety since I've decided to give it all to God. Like that guest speaker talked about, that guest pastor, I guess he was, talked about, give it all to God. God got you. Trust in him. And just remember, like she said, we're doing it because we want to break those generational curses. So keep going, keep focusing, keep trying, and don't give up. Just do your best every single day. I thank you so much for listening today. God bless and take care.
You see, the more that we fill ourselves with things that are evil, the more that we gloss over tragic things that are happening in our world like they're nothing. I mean, do you realize what that's doing to your mind? It's grabbing your attention, but only for a moment, not to help you, but to make you feel helpless over your mind, over your situation, over your family, over the world that you're living in, and it is a lie. You